Hello, this is Angelia with today's wisdom. Today's wisdom comes from Daily Muslim Wisdom. God's light is found in temples which He has allowed to be built. In these temples, men and women constantly remember His name, and every morning and evening they sing His praises. Neither business nor profit can distract these people from remembering God, from offering prayers to Him, or from giving generously to the poor. And that's from the Qur'an, Al-Nour, Surah 24, 36 through 37. And that's true. I don't believe a church was ever built without God's input. Now, I've been to some churches that I feel like God might have left the building. But, for the most part, that is where folks go to worship the Lord. That's what should be remembered is His name. I've been in churches where they're all about the money, and they're talking about, well, we want you to promise to give more this year, and, we need this and this. And it's like, I understand you want to grow your church. I understand you want outbuildings and gyms and things like that. But isn't the job of the church to be trying to save people? Maybe that's just me, but that's how I took it when Jesus said it that way. But, and there are people who pray every morning, I pray constantly all day because I know I need help. But, I live in a place where a lot of folks are, different, and there's a lot of hardship here, a lot of drama here, a lot of folks causing problems here. So I've learned I just need to pray all day long and keep things on track in our life, because the world is certainly not going to do that for us. And again, I have been to churches where they have businesses in the lobby. I don't care for that, because remember what Jesus did to the folks with their stalls out in front of the temple? Yeah, He whipped their booties and kicked them out and said, "You made my house a den of thieves." So I feel like if you want to have a church bookstore or whatever, have that separate, a separate building, in my opinion, is the way to go. Or down in the basement or something like that. You should not walk into a church and the first thing you see is a sales floor. That's just my opinion on that. And we should remember God. If you're too busy to remember God, that's a problem. If work is consuming all your time, or your drama is consuming all your time, then that's a problem. You need to start talking, to the Lord and getting your priorities straight. And like I said, prayer can overcome anything. You just keep praying. You pray about everything, because then if you got some heavy burdens, and I've been giving up some burdens here lately, but if you got some burdens, give them to the Lord. Say, Lord, you say, cast my cares upon you. Give my burdens to you. So here you go. Have this. You do what you want with it. So, because I'm done. But, and we should all give generously to the poor. Now, there's a whole section of society that doesn't believe that should be a thing. But, I've been poor, and I couldn't help it. At one point, I was working 5 jobs. They were part-time jobs, but, I was working at a place. I was running a ministry. I was doing art. I was doing acting, on the side, and modeling and stuff. I was sewing. I was doing crafts. I was doing crochet. So, I was doing all these things to try and bring in money to our home. And we were still poor. I would call us working poor because, we were working, but we were still poor. So people who grow up with money and are in a bubble of protection because they've always had money, never wanted money. I know when my husband, he grew up in a upper middle class family, and they never had any problem paying their bills. They never had to pay a bill late, never had to rob Peter to pay Paul. He just had no idea that was even a thing. So when we got married, and we were in our first apartment, and some bills came due, and 2 bills came due in the same week. Like I said, I was working full time, he was working full time, making, what we were getting at the time for full time money. We couldn't pay both bills in the same week, so I did what my parents did, because I seen my parents, rob Peter to pay Paul, or in this case, what it was is like, okay, these people will cut you off if you don't pay them. These people won't. So what you do is you're going to pay these people first. We're getting paid Friday, so then Monday we pay these other people. And that's how it was done. But he got so upset. I mean, just terribly upset that we didn't have the money to pay both of these bills on time. And so rich people don't get it. They've come up in a protective bubble of money, and they don't understand what it's like to be poor and not have the money to pay your bills, much less have food and clothes. So yes, I believe those of us who have should give to those who have not, because you can't always help being poor. Yes, there might be 2 out of 50 folks who choose to abuse the system. Like I said, when I went to the neighborhood center, there was probably about 2 out of 50 of us sitting there who didn't need to be there. The other 48 of us had our head down and were like, dear God, let's just hurry up and get this done so I can get out of here. Because we didn't want to be there. We had to be there. So there is a difference. There are poor folks in the world. If any of you living in a protected bubble of money don't understand that, go out there and live on the streets for 2 weeks and see how that works for you. No money. You're going to find out pretty quick that being poor sucks. So, we should be given generously. Like I said, tithing, we tithe. I feel like everybody should tithe their 10%. Excuse me. And if you did that, the world would probably be solved. Hunger would be solved. Housing would be solved. If everybody gave their fair share, we wouldn't have all these crazy problems we have in the world today, because everybody be worried about loving each other instead of hating on each other. And that's because I've read the New Testament very many times since I started reading it when I was 13, and never once did Jesus say hate on each other. No, he said love ye one another, for love covers the multitude of sins. So that's my take on that. So, the Crane's got something going on there. Please like and share this wisdom so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. Thanks for watching. That's all for now. Until next time.